Hey guys, seXyMan here, and coming to you day 2 after Christmas from my garage. Listen, I think yesterday I left you hanging a little bit because I talked about 3 things, right? Exercise, nutrition, and then ultimately, and working our way backwards, we talked about identity and how identity is basically what it's all about, and it drives the other 2 things. And so I touched on exercise a little bit, but I think what I really left you hanging on was nutrition. So I just wanted to give you some quick seXyMan hacks on how I deal with nutrition, because to me, this is kind of the toughest issue there is. It's really, really difficult, I think, especially as you're getting older, you get into middle age, or even when I started struggling with this when I was in my late 20s. A lot of it because of genetics. My dad was chubby, and I got his body build, and all of a sudden, I wasn't playing college sports any longer, and I got married for the first time when I was in my late 20s, and I just ballooned up, and it freaked me out. And so I've spent many, many years dealing with this issue and just working very, very, very hard to stay in really good shape and to look good, honestly, because we love women, and that's what the seXyMan is not all about, but it's a big part of what we're all about. So I've been dealing with this for quite a long time. So what I really want to touch on quickly is really about weight control. When it comes to nutrition, there are really 2 camps, okay? There's weight control and there's health control. And weight and health are not the same thing, obviously, but the example that I like to use is it's kind of like an anorexic. If you think about an anorexic can control weight if what you're trying to do is actually lose weight. Most of us are trying to lose weight. I do have some friends that have trouble putting on weight, but the same principles go for someone who needs to put on weight. But if you think about an anorexic is definitely controlling weight. They're staying skinny, but they're definitely not healthy, right? So they are 2 totally different things. So right now, I'm just gonna stay on weight control. I'm going to assume and leave kind of health for either another topic or for people that are much more in tune to managing health, because there are so many debates around what we should be eating, what we shouldn't be eating, what's good for us, what's not good for us. Should we be eating meat? Should we be eating organic meats? Should we be eating grass-fed meats? Should we not be eating meats? Should we be vegan? Should we be this? Should we be that? I have my own way of doing it, but I'm not going to get into that. Right now, I just want to talk about weight control, because right now, quite frankly, this is just about looking good, okay? So let's just talk about weight control. So here's the problem that I have. Food is so freaking good and tempting. The temptations are just freaking everywhere. And I don't know if you can relate to this, but for God's sakes, I travel a lot. My wife doesn't always want to cook. She wants to go out. There's the restaurant food. Restaurant food is high in fats and high in salts and high in all this kind of stuff. And we get tired of just eating salads all day long. And so it's so tempting. And then at home, not everybody in my house is trying to manage their weight like I'm trying to manage their weight, and trying to manage their nutrition like I'm trying to manage my nutrition. And so there's muffins and cookies and things laying all over the place. So it really, really can be super, super challenging. So I'm going to give you 3 hacks, I think it is. Did I give you 4 hacks or 3 hacks? I'm going to give you 3 hacks, just simple hacks, okay? So my first one, hack number 1, is measurement, okay? So the old adage that you can't manage what you can't measure comes into play very, very heavily when it comes to weight management, okay? So my first hack is to get on the scale every day, see where you're at, know where you want to be. Okay, because research has shown that the people that lose weight after being overweight and then they go on a campaign to lose weight, as you probably know, I don't know what the exact number is, but it's more than 90% of the people that will lose a lot of weight will not only gain it back over the next year after they've lost that weight, but they actually gain even more, and so the cycle just keeps going and going. But for that smaller percentage who have actually lost weight and maintained the weight loss over long periods of time, the research has shown the key thing that they do is they measure their weight every single day. They get on there, they have a range in which they can, it's acceptable to them in their mind. Okay, so I'll just say I'm in the 170 range, and I have this right now. So I can stay between 167 and 170, 171. I start to get a little bit nervous about the fact that with the kind of conditioning that I do, with the kind of fitness that I do, that's starting to get a little bit on my upper echelon. And so I'll immediately start taking any action I can to suck it back. Okay? Now this has to do with identity, right? But we talked about that yesterday. So my identity will force me to suck that back. But if I'm not paying attention, okay, and I'm not measuring it every single day, I can wake up one day 3 weeks later and be 175, and all of a sudden I got my jowls are sticking out, and I'm just like, oh man, I got to pull this back, but it got away from me. And as you know, it's much harder to lose weight than it is to gain weight for those of us who have a propensity for gaining weight. Okay, so hack number one is to measure it. Simple rule of measurement. Get on the scale, look at it every day, know what your range is, work your way there, and stay on it. Just by the simple fact of looking at it every day is super powerful, because it will drive your mind, which your identity is already being tied to, right? It'll drive your mind to drive your body to do whatever it is you need to do to stay in that range. Okay, hack number two, log it. Okay, so again, getting away from what we're supposed to be eating, what we aren't supposed to be eating, let's just talk about how much we're eating, okay? So one of the things that I'm using right now is an app. The app that I use, and this is to log my food, by the way, just log what I'm eating. The app that I'm using is MyFitnessPal by Under Armour. It's a pretty popular app. I think it's one of the more mainstream apps. I stumbled upon it a couple years ago, and it has just been a huge difference maker for me. It takes a little bit of discipline, okay? But if you can just log what you're eating every single day, and the more you use the app, the easier this gets. For instance, I talked about my wife's lasagna yesterday, right? And I told you I would tell you why I knew it was 650 calories a spoonful. And yes, I'm exaggerating a little bit. But when she started doing her lasagna and I started logging it, I decided I would it took me about 5 minutes, and I got in the recipe and I plugged in the lasagna recipe. And so now it is a saved recipe for me. So anytime she makes it, all I got to do is just choose it and then decide how many servings I ate. So like in my case, it was 7 the other day. I'm just exaggerating, but it was a lot. And then I can just log my snacks. And you know, we all tend to eat the same foods on a regular basis. We're all a lot less complex than we think we are, less exotic than we think we are, and we're actually quite simple. If you think about it, if you've ever logged your food, you know that we tend to eat the same things kind of week in and week out. So if you take a little bit of discipline to get this thing set up, it doesn't take much every day, just a few minutes every day to log what you're eating and see how much you're eating. And look, if you're trying to gain weight, or if you're trying to lose weight, or if you're trying to just maintain, you can set your calorie targets each day for what you're trying to do. In my case right now, I'm really heavily in work mode. I'm not in workout mode. Last summer and last spring and summer, I was doing Andrew Friselli's 75 Hard, and it was a completely different ball game. I was looking different. I was eating a different amount of calories, and you know, trying to stick with that program, which I did, and it almost killed me, but I got through it. But right now, I'm in work mode, and I am really just trying to maintain weight, just trying to pay attention. I'm measuring, getting on that scale every day, and I'm logging what I have every day. I'm at about 2,250 calories is my target. Just not too much more, a little bit less if I can, to just kind of make sure I give myself a little buffer. And I just log my food. I take a look at what's going on. And again, it's a measurement, right? What we can't measure, what we don't measure, we can't manage. So I'm measuring what my weight is, and I'm measuring how much calories I'm taking in. The funny part about this is that for many, many years, I thought counting calories was for girls. You know, it was like, seXyMan doesn't count calories. But it's really funny. The fact of the matter is once I learned what a great hack this is, I realized that the seXyMan needs to be counting calories. Okay, so my third hack is this. We're all gonna fall off the wagon. You know, I just went through Christmas, I pigged out, I was feeling heavy yesterday, we talked about that. We're gonna have different periods, we're gonna have travel, we're gonna have distraction. Kids happen, right? So when you fall off the wagon, just get right back on. And the quickest way to get right back on is these 2 hacks. Get on the scale, get the app logging. And the minute you do that, the minute you can get yourself on track. And that has been my experience, okay? So I want you to remember, though, the ultimate hack of all. In fact, I think I lied a little bit. I said there were 3 hacks. There's really the 4th hack, but it's like Lord of the Rings. It's the hack that rules. It's the one hack to rule them all, okay? And that's the hack of making health and fitness, weight management, this whole game part of who you are, part of your identity. For me, it's part of my seXyMan identity. You get that anchored into your nervous system, and you are going to be just fine, and you will be the seXyMan. That is you. All right, I'm signing off, and remember, guys, you are only one hangout away.